I was told that my previous reaction video on Victoria Stilwell was accurate, but it was done on an old video and now she actually practices a different kind of training. So here's a new one. Let's check it out.
Who's this?
That's my brother.
Okay.
Okay, not a good start, not for Victoria, for the dog. I mean, why would you put your fingers through the mail slot if you see that the dog is barking and going crazy? It can even be dangerous to the person because you never know when the dog is actually going to bite you.
I thought Jake's behavior was bad when I came in, but when Lisa's brother Peter came through the door, he went ballistic.
Well, at least from that little piece of video that we just saw, the dog didn't go ballistic, but you need to also remember that one thing, she's there and I'm not, so she might see more things that I can't see. And two, that the dog, because it's a small dog, his reaction might not look like it's so bad, but in fact, it's bad. If it was a bigger dog, then all of us would say, oh yeah, the dog is going ballistic. So she might be right. Oh, and by the way, if this is your first time here, I'm Dr. Orion, a veterinarian and a veterinary behavior residency graduate. Let's continue watching.
Jakey! Hi, Jakey.
Won't he bite you?
Well, sometimes when I get close.
Do you come here a lot? Do you come here often?
Yeah, sometimes.
You do?
I usually terrorize the dog.
So what did he do wrong? Well, of course, he admitting that he terrorizes the dog is the first thing. Don't do that. I know it's a small dog and he might not pose a lot of danger to you, but why do it? Why stress the dog? It's not really funny. And it's sad because this guy is smiling when he's telling her about terrorizing the dog. But you probably also noticed that when he was approaching the dog, the first thing he was doing was to kind of get his hands closer to the dog, to kind of like say hello. But sadly, this is just the opposite of what you want to do when the dog is afraid of you. What he should have done was to stand far enough from the dog, hopefully the dog doesn't lunge or do anything to him, but basically ignores the dog and let the dog progress at his own pace. It's not that simple, of course, but definitely don't go to the dog that's already afraid of you and stick your hands in his face.
Every time you come over, he pees. Pooped on himself.
You laugh and you have fun because it's fun because it's a little dog. Would you come in if this was a Rottweiler?
No.
Exactly. If it was a Rottweiler, he would never do such a thing. Also, defecating and urinating in response to a stranger is a very extreme form of fear.
You wouldn't, because it would have your throat. I was appalled when Peter admitted to terrorizing Jake. I was about to get him and throw him out the front door. I work hard at what I do and I can make huge progress. But the thing that really makes my job a lot harder are people like you coming in and teasing the dog.
Sadly, this is completely true. It's not just working with the dog, it's also working with the owners. Now, this gentleman is not the owner, he is the owner's brother or something like that. So it's a lot harder to get guests or family members to join on the right kind of training. It does make everything a lot harder and maybe even impossible, so it is very important to get the owners on the right track and actually on the right page with you, because if they are embarrassed to tell the brother or the guest to do something or not to do something, then why waste your money on training?
This is a dog that has bitten children, has bitten all the family, and has bitten you.
Yes.
Has it bitten you?
Yes.
How many times?
3 or 4 times.
Jolly good. Because I would have bitten you too. You tease me, you put your fingers through the letterbox. I don't think the family realized how hard I was going to be on Peter. And Peter certainly didn't, otherwise he would have never come round.
She is being pretty hard on Peter. Is that the right thing to do? Probably not. I would assume that she's doing it just because it's a TV show, so they're trying to make things much more dramatic and exciting and stuff like that. Because in real life, kind of like in dogs, if you're trying to teach someone something, you need to find a way to communicate with them in a level that they actually understand. When you get mad at someone, when you're trying to attack them, you're not gonna get through. You're actually gonna make them put up walls and not listen to you. That's basically a defense mechanism that all of us have. Kind of like, you're attacking me? No, 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 no. I'm right and you're wrong. But again, I'm guessing that in this case, it's just because it's for a TV show.
Each time you tease this dog, you rile it up, you're just showing that every single time somebody comes in here, the person is just gonna cause me fear, make me more anxious, cause me stress. So it's a negative association with everybody who comes through that door.
Exactly. So dogs many times will generalize. What it basically means is that one specific stranger, and even though this person is a family member, he's not one of the family members that live in the house. So in the dog's eyes, he's a stranger. If every time a stranger comes or this person comes and does all of those scary things, it actually teaches the dog that he's right to be afraid of strangers and guests and all of that.
Do you realize how you're exacerbating this dog's behavior?
Yes, but the dog's been a little kooky from the start.
Kooky? So you're gonna make it more kooky?
Yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So the dog was bad, so I don't care, I'll just do it again, I'll just make it worse. Why? Well, probably because it's a small dog that doesn't poses a lot of risk to that guy. But as she said, if it was a Rottweiler or an Amstaff or something like that, I promise you that the guy would never have done something like that.
Aw, all right, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize to me, apologize to them because they're living it with it every day. Coming in here and teasing this dog's like it's just bullying.
It is bullying, but you saw how he responded? It was like a joke to him. It was like, oh, I'm sorry. And that's exactly a defense mechanism, making a joke out of it. So, again, not the right approach in my eyes, but, for a TV show, you need to make things sexier.
I'm gonna do some work with you. I'm gonna ask you if you can come over again
Sure.
one of these days.
So I can't do this anymore?
No.
The teasing finishes.
So I can't do it anymore. So funny.
In order to address the behavior, I need to take baby steps. Since Lisa has the best relationship with Jake, I want to start working with her first before I go on to the rest of the family. When I'm working with aggressive dogs, it's really important that they trust me. I wanted Jake not to freak out each time I left and came back into the house. So immediately I set to work by teaching them that if he was quiet, he would get a reward. So I'm just gonna put the food up to my eyes so that he gets used to looking at me. Good boy.
That's the basics of counter conditioning and desensitization. You want to do things in a very gradual way under the dog's threshold so the dog doesn't explode. The dog is still feeling secure enough, comfortable enough to take treats, and by that you're actually teaching him that that person or that environment or whatever stresses the dog is not such a bad thing, because now every time it happens he gets something good and not something bad. Asking the dog to do things at the same situation and receiving rewards is called operant conditioning. We also use that a lot.
I'm just gonna come in. Good. Nice.
So you saw how the dog barked when she just entered the door or made a noise with the door handle. That means that you should probably work on that step even more. He did calm down very fast with seeing her, but here it's actually probably not going to help a lot with the generalization of this behavior.
I wanted to take the training a little bit further and to work with the person that Jake hates most, which is Peter.
Jakey? Jake? Jake?
Lisa, remember?
He's put his fingers through the slot.
Why is Peter putting fingers through the
That's what
seat?
he does.
Yeah, this person clearly didn't understand what he was explained before. Maybe because she was so hard on him. He needs to be taken to the kitchen, get some nice cup of tea or coffee or beer and get a good explanation on why he shouldn't be doing what he's doing, what it makes the dog feel, what it makes the dog do. And once the guy understands, then he's much more likely to play along and help with the training.
What language was I speaking to Peter when I asked him not to tease Jake anymore? Whatever it was, he didn't understand it.
Yeah, maybe that's because you have an accent. Unlike me, I mean, you're in America, speak American, muy bien.
Hi. Here.
No, Lisa, you want to let the person coming in to know not to proceed up to the steps so quickly.
Yeah,
Pause, let Jake get calm, give him a treat, and then you let the person
Did he
proceed.
start at the bottom?
Yeah, he stands at
Okay,
the bottom
go
and
to the bottom.
waits
Correct.
for Jake to stop barking.
Go to the bottom. I totally froze, screwed up. The dog was getting too upset. He wasn't paying attention to the food because he's too terrified of Peter. I just totally forgot everything she said. I was just like, what do I do?
Yeah, so it's pretty common, and I don't really blame her. I mean, I guess this is the first time that they're doing it, and there's so many people around her with cameras and whatnot. But we learn from our mistakes, and hopefully the next time that she's gonna do it, she'll be a lot better at it. And hopefully her brother also gonna be a lot better. If he refuses to learn, then he shouldn't be a part of the training. But the problem is that if he continues coming and continues taunting the dog, it's gonna basically ruin everything. So if that's the case, sadly, it's better to have the dog, because I'm assuming they're not gonna ban the brother from coming to the house. But maybe if they know that he's coming, they should have the dog be in some safe place where he's away from the guy, that he's getting all the treats and rewards and having a kind of a calm environment where he can decompress or just stay away, avoid that trigger. This is not a punishment. It's actually good for the dog because now the dog is not exposed to something that freaks him out.
I put a lot of time, effort, commitment to training, and I work really hard to make things work. But it tries my patience when people just don't get it.
So yeah, I wouldn't judge the owner too harshly because, she's stressed. The other guy, it's a problem. But what can we do? We can keep trying to make him understand, or we can keep the dog away from him.
We have all of this crew in the house, okay? All of these big men walking around. And for days he hasn't reacted to them. He's totally comfortable with them.
Good boy.
And
It's okay.
the fact that he has this history of you teasing him
okay.
and you scared him to the point where he actually had to urinate and defecate.
It's okay. Good
I think
boy.
you might have just sealed the deal with him. Peter has terrorized Jake enough that I don't think that relationship is salvageable. So when I saw Jake getting so upset, I just thought the best thing was for Peter to leave.
I have to disagree with her on this one. I don't think that the fact that the dog has a lot of history with him means that there's no way that things will improve, that there's no way to teach the dog that Peter is not the Satan or not the bad thing that comes out of hell to kill him. But in order to even work on it, Peter, the brother, needs to play along. As long as he's not, then yeah, it's not gonna work.
I didn't know he was that afraid of Peter. He's
You
You
said you don't have to
didn't?
give him any
not
more.
that bad.
The dog urinated and defecated on your sofa. That's when you were laughing.
I know.
That's when you were laughing.
Yeah, don't get mad at her, because then she's not gonna listen to you anymore either. But television, drama.
Lisa will try very hard to do what's right, but because of pressure and trying too much to not fail, she sets herself up for failure, and then once that happens, it's like a stone tumbling downhill.
Exactly. This guy, the husband, very smart. He's exactly right. So in conclusion, I definitely think that her techniques are good. Her people skill might need some work, but she's still doing a good service to all the force-free, reward-based trainers out there. Now, if you want to see my old video on her, check out this link.